Hello viewers. Today we are gonna uncover the deadliest events ever took place in the history of US, the massive destructions that could never be forgotten. I bet last one you don't know, so don't skip the video. There are a total of 5 events we are gonna cover in this video. Like this, we will discover every country's destructions in upcoming videos, so don't forget to give a subscribe. And you can also comment your country that we should cover next. Firstly, the COVID-19 pandemic. 1,181,607 total deaths reported because of. In early 2020, the first report circulated of a deadly and contagious new respiratory disease centered in Wuhan, China. The novel strain of coronavirus claimed its first American victims in February, and COVID-19, as the disease became known, erupted into a full-blown public health crisis by March, triggering widespread shutdowns of U.S. schools and businesses and stay-at-home orders in panic states nationwide. New York was the first to suffer an explosion of infections and deaths, registering more than 200,000 positive cases and at least 14,000 laboratory-confirmed COVID-19 deaths in the first 3 months of the pandemic. As public health restrictions were relaxed over the summer, the virus spread to new hotspots and steadily claimed more and more lives, reaching daily death totals in excess of the 9/11 attacks by late fall. Funding and political will in the United States and around the world accelerated the development of vaccines to fight the virus, and by December 11, 2020, the FDA issued an emergency use authorization for the use of the first COVID-19 vaccine. A week later, the government agency approved a second, and by February 2021, Americans had access to 3 FDA-approved vaccines. By March 2024, 81% of the U.S. population had received at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. Despite the new vaccines, COVID-19 cases and deaths continued as new variants of the virus emerged, and some Americans remained reluctant to become vaccinated. By March 2024, more than 1.1 million deaths from COVID-19 had been reported nationwide since the start of the pandemic. Secondly, the U.S. Civil War. 750,000 total deaths reported. The awful death toll of the Civil War may never fully be known. For more than a century, the number was enshrined at 618,222 fatalities, 360,222 from the Union North and 258,000 from the Confederate South. But in recent decades, historians raised the number to an estimated 750,000 deaths, mostly blamed on the undercounting of Confederate casualties. That higher figure, if it stands, represents 2.5% of the total U.S. population in the 1860s. If a similar war were fought today, it would claim more than 7 million American lives. The death and suffering inflicted by the Civil War is unequaled in U.S. military history. Thirdly, the 1918 flu pandemic. 675,000 deaths reported. The 1918 flu claimed an unfathomable 50 to 100 million victims worldwide, including an estimated 675,000 Americans. Wrongfully labeled the Spanish flu, the first confirmed case of this virulent strain of influenza was actually a U.S. Army cook stationed in Kansas in March of 1918. Spring fatalities from the 1918 flu were similar to the seasonal flu, but after the virus followed troop deployments overseas during World War I, it resurged in the fall with deadly vengeance. October of 1918 was the worst single month of the pandemic, claiming almost 200,000 American lives. Unlike the seasonal flu, which is most dangerous to the very old and very young, the 1918 strain cut down otherwise healthy men and women in the prime of life. Movie theaters and social gatherings were shut down to stem the spread of the virus, and face masks were mandatory in places like San Francisco. But without a vaccine, the virus was left to run its deadly course by mid-1919. Fourthly, World War II. The bitter terms of Germany's surrender in World War I crippled the German economy and bred both contempt for the Allied powers and anti-Semitic conspiracies of a Jewish/communist plot to destroy Germany from within. Adolf Hitler and his National Socialist, Nazi, Party rode to power in 1933 and put plans in motion to establish an Aryan German Empire. The United States, as it did during World War I, held back as England, France, and other nations declared war on Hitler. But after the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the U.S. declared war on both Japan and Germany and joined the Allies in the heroic beach invasion at Normandy in which more than 4,400 Allied troops were killed in a span of days. At the Battle of Okinawa, the deadliest single battle for the United States, more than 12,500 American troops lost their lives on the rain-soaked rock. In total, 405,400 U.S. servicemen died in World War II, the deadliest American war waged on foreign soil. Fifth and the final why this is so disturbing just because of that it could not be cured because you can even imagine to control it. That was the 1900 Galveston hurricane. The hurricane that battered the island city of Galveston, Texas with 150 miles per hour winds and drowned it with 15-foot storm surges remains the deadliest natural disaster in American history. An estimated 8,000 men, women, and children were killed during the Category 4 storm, which lifted thousands of houses off their moorings and smashed them to pieces on September 8th and 9th, 1900. The howling winds tore off roof shingles and transformed them into flying knives. Nuns at the St. Mary's Orphans Asylum lashed themselves to the children in desperation, only to be swept out to sea when the walls collapsed. Galveston, which had been one of Texas's wealthiest and most modern cities, was reduced to rubble, and the bodies of countless victims continued to wash ashore for weeks. This was the astonishing video, and I hope so you like this. You can comment you country on which I should continue this series. Don't forget to give a subscribe. This will only give me some motivation. Meet you in the next video.